It's a brand new route for the 2024 African Bank Soweto Marathon, and we are here to talk you through it. My name is Brad Nadauld. We've got the coach Lindsey Parry with us. Lindsey, just a few days away from the 2024 edition of the Soweto Marathon. Some big changes have been made to the route on all three, the 10, the 21, and the 42, and we're going to be covering all three of those in this video as well. So depending on which race you are running, if you look at the description of this video, you can click straight through to the route description for either the 10, the 21, or the 42, and you can listen to it there. So you don't really need to know what's happening in the 21 if you're running the 42, for example. But excitement building that the People's Race is back in 2024. We're going to be there as Team Coach Parry. I'm not. You're going to be there with the rest of the team that's based up in Gauteng, but looking forward to being in Soweto once again.
Yeah, very exciting. Certainly Gauteng's premier marathon. There's no question about that. So very much looking forward to being involved, meeting all the runners at the expo, and of course then on race day being in Soweto to cheer everyone in. And I think the biggest change, which has led to some of the route changes, is that the race is starting and finishing at a different place. So it's no longer starting and finishing at the FNB Stadium, and we are now actually down the road at the Nasrec Sports Grounds, which, to be honest, I have not finished at the FNB Stadium yet. All the Soweto marathons that I've run over the years, I've finished at Nasrec, so that feels a little bit like going home to me. But that has meant that the routes are slightly different. The principles, though, haven't changed much, and as we go through those, you'll just see that there's a unique challenge that is presented by the Soweto, or in fact, all three races at Soweto.
Absolutely. Lindsey, let's jump straight into the 10K. Won't you run us through the route for this year's Soweto Marathon 10K?
Absolutely. So, look, we all start just outside the Nasrec showgrounds, and all the races start in a southerly direction. So, everyone understands where we're going, and we're heading towards Rancho Road and then across the highway. And once we get across the highway, we then wind our way through Deep Kloof towards the Soweto Highway, and then back to the finish. So what's important to note about this is that Nasrec is close to the highest point in Soweto. So pretty much everything we do from there is going to mean that we are moving probably downhill and then mostly uphill. So for the 10K, you pretty much are downhill with the exception of the start. So actually, let me do this properly and say that when we run away from Nasrec up to Rancho Road, that's going to be a bit of a gentle climb, and that's for just short of a kilometer. So let's say 700 or so meters. But from that point onwards, you are mostly running downhill. There's a couple of little pools along the way, but the theme really is, if you go and look on the route maps on the Soweto Marathon website, the Africa Bank Soweto website, is this overriding downhill until just shy of the 6.5 kilometer mark. So you run a lot of downhill, and then there is some brutal climbing between 6.5 Ks and about 7.5 Ks. Is a pretty nasty climb, and then it flattens out a little bit from 7.5 Ks to just shy of 9 Ks. And then that last kind of 1.2 Ks is the hardest climb of the day. So, yeah, want to save your powder for the end, but always important to just know what to expect on race day. So lots of downhill for the first 2/3, and then loads of uphill for the final 2/3.
Yeah, and just so that everybody knows as well, we are doing a separate pacing video. So the best way to pace these routes as well, that'll be in your feed as well. You can also click on the link in the description. Lindsey, let's jump into the half marathon now. And what can we expect when it comes to the 21K route?
Yeah, so the themes are going to be similar, but we do obviously have to move a lot further away from the start finish, which typically then means much the same. Now the down run, I want to call it down run, the down and the up in the half marathon is a little bit more proportionate than the other two. And so much gentler down to the kind of halfway or just past the halfway mark on the half marathon. But again, facing south, leaving just outside the Nasrec Showgrounds onto Rancho Road, over the highway, and we kind of carry on past Deep Sluit. We skirt all the way around Orlando east, making our way back around to the Soweto Highway, and then from the Soweto Highway back towards Nasrec on the Golden Highway. And the overriding principle is very similar. So we start at near the highest point, slight little climb to Rancho Road, and then on the down run, you do a lot of downhill running, and that pretty much takes you to around about 16 kilometers. So well over halfway that you run to get down to, or three quarters of the route is just about downhill, and then we've got a lot of climbing. Sorry, I said 16 k's. That's not right. It's 14 k's. Sorry, so about 2/3 again. So the ratio is actually the same. So to just before the 14 k mark, it's all the way downhill. Then a really stiff climb from just before 14 k's all the way up to the 15 k mark. A gentler climb that will then take you up to around about 16 k's. Then you get a little bit of a breather from 16 k's to not quite 17 k's. Another solid climb up to around about 19 kilometers, flattens out to 20, and then there's a really strong pull from 21 k's to the finish. And you'll see that across all three races, that bringing us back from the Soweto Highway up through Golden Highway to the finish. That is a nasty pull that takes you to the finish of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember running the half marathon a couple of years ago. I know the route has changed, and it is a toughie, and so is the full marathon, Lindsey. And I don't think too much has changed, although the start and finish venues changed. Soweto is always a really tough marathon on the calendar, and also the time of year it is. I think it shocks people into sort of submission, if you'd like, because of where it is on the calendar, November. But let's talk about the new 2024 Soweto Marathon route.
Yeah. So again, taking in most of the sites, and it's really the start that is impacted, and obviously looking for a few extra Ks early, I guess, so that they don't have to pack too many in towards the end. But again, we're facing south, starting fairly similarly to the half marathon until you get over the bridge. And then, of course, we run down towards the Chris Hani Baragwanath Academic Hospital. We run past the UJ campus before we make our way to Pimville and into Kliptown. From Kliptown, we make our way around to Jabulani, and at roughly the 28k mark, we get to like the best spectator spot on the Soweto Marathon, which is Vilakazi Street, rich with history, wind round Orlando, along New Canada Road, making our way from there back to the Soweto Highway, and then onto the Golden Highway and back to Nasrec. So that just gives you a broad overview if you know anything about Soweto. And then not quite the downhill and then uphill that you have in the 10.5. So a little bit more lumpy, but we still have that kind of overriding trend of a much easier first half and a much harder second half. So for the first K, a little bit of climbing again, but pretty much to 15 Ks from there. There are a few exceptions. So we do turn and move around in the suburbs a little bit, where we do have some short climbs. But by and large, the first 15 Ks are largely downhill with long stretches of pretty nice running, and not too steep, actually, just really good gradient to get the legs turning over. And then from 15 Ks to 20 Ks, quite a bit of work to do. So, that takes us to just short of the halfway mark. There's a bit of downhill again that'll take us to about 23-ish kilometers. and then a bit of flat running, which is in short supply. That's where you haven't heard me talking much about that, Brad, over the course of the route descriptions. But then we have some flat running that'll take us towards Vilakazi Street and around about, I think it starts at 26, 27 Ks and ends just after 28 Ks, if my memory serves me well. But that's quite a climb at a point in the race where you are starting to get a bit tired. And then from 30 to 35 kilometers, there's quite a lot of work. And as you're approaching into 35 Ks, just a little bit of down so that you can recover a little bit. And then from 35 Ks to just over the 37K mark, that is a very tough climb. And from 37 to just shy of 40, it's then fairly easy with some gradual downs, with a sharp drop down to 41 Ks. And then from 41 Ks to the finish, same as all the others, we've then got the hardest climb of the day, saving the best for last to take you through to the finish line.
Yeah, it should be a great day out. And yeah, that route does sound tough as always. I think that's what we've come to expect from the Soweto Marathon. But it is crucial how you pace that marathon, particularly. You don't want to go out too fast. And that's exactly what we talk about in the video that's on screen right now. We're going to talk you through the pacing strategy for the 2024 Soweto Marathon, as well as the 21 and the 10K. So click on that link right now, and we'll see you in that video.